This is my wife's daily driver, and it is as basic can be. It doesn't come with any of the creature comforts that most of us are used to and take for granted, and that would include a front camera and a rear camera. So today we're fixing that with the Wolfbox G900 mirror cam, the TriPro bumper version that records 3 cameras simultaneously. So if you want to see all the details and how it performs in real-world driving, day, night, and everything in between, stick around. Hey everyone, Jason here in my garage as usual, and as I mentioned, my wife's daily driver is super basic. No backup camera, no fancy tech, nothing that helps her see what's going on around the vehicle. So I always wanted to add a dash camera system to it for a while, and after some research, the Wolfbox G900 TriPro mirror camera checked off every box. It gives you multiple camera feeds right into a feature-packed digital rear view mirror, and it does it with a really clean look. And that means there's no suction cups, there's no adhesive pads, no wires cluttering up the windshield. It's actually very, very popular with the off-road crowd because the little external cameras that integrate into it, you can pretty much wire them anywhere you want to. Underneath the vehicle for rock crawling, but also on bumpers like I'm going to show you today, on roll cages, roof racks, under a tailgate, or even mounted on the roof of the vehicle when you're towing a trailer so you can keep an eye on it. And all that flexibility works great for a basic commuter car like what I'm going to show you today. Some of you might remember when I reviewed and pretty much torture tested this, the Wolfbox MF100 air duster. Same company. Still kind of wild to me, air dusters and dash cameras. Not the combo you'd expect, but their products have impressed me so far, and you're going to see why. So we're going to test this one in Jason's garage style. We're going to go over the details, and then we're going to see how it looks and works once it's installed, and then I'm going to show you some real-world driving footage. Day, night, rain, glare, you're going to see it all. I'm also going to show you how the touch screen works and the menus feel, because this is basically a 12-inch wide touch screen. What we're going to do here is we're going to figure out whether or not this is worth you putting it on your daily driver, your off-road rig, or, like in my case, your spouse's car. Does it live up to the hype? Well, we're going to find out together. And if you like how it performs by the end of this video, because of my review and my testing, and you want to pick one up, I'll save you some cash because you're going to find links and an exclusive coupon code in the description and the pinned comment. So let's get started by taking a closer look at the version that I picked up. All right, let's check this thing out. That's kind of cool. Oh, and look at that. This is a serious piece. Overall quality, build materials, feels on par with OEM. Let's put that right there, see what else we get. Okay, so as you can see, you get a lot of stuff. Let's make some sense of it here. Mirror here, instructions here. This is the power supply. And we get these straps right here. Now there is an option to where you can replace your entire factory mirror with this, but because my vehicle has OnStar on it, I don't think I want to mess with that too much. Maybe I can, but not today. And this is the 1080p front camera. This is the GPS unit. And then some additional hardware and zip ties. This is the 2.5K rear camera with an extra cable. And then as you saw, we get this rear camera license plate mount. There is more to this package. Let me get this out of the way and we'll take a look at what else I got. All right, as part of this package, let's open these things up. This here is a 33-foot cable for the rear camera, just in case I need it. And then we got this. I gotta keep checking these to make sure there's nothing more. There's a lot of stuff you get. And this here is the hardware kit. So you can just hardwire this directly into your vehicle, which is really, really handy. So you see everything that I got here. Let's take a little closer look at this. So satisfying. I can't be the only one that loves that. So you can see this functions as a mirror when powered off, but this is a digital display that's pretty cool and functional from what I can tell. Now, I haven't actually played with this yet. I've only seen what they have on the website, but let's get a little closer look at the anatomy here. Power button there, you got your 2 microphones there. Here's the 4K mirror camera, and then of course, all the necessary hookups. So you can see here, Power cable goes here, front camera there, GPS goes there, the rear camera goes here. Comes with a Wolfbox 256 gigabyte SD card. SD cards are important when it comes to dash cams because these things basically bake in the sun. So your standard SD card won't cut it. So I'm going to assume that since it's a Wolfbox branded SD card, that it's going to do just fine. It's meant for high temperatures. This has got some weight to it. It is not cheap or flimsy feeling. And on the back side, it looks pretty good. It's got this heat sink here with the Wolfbox logo nicely machined into it. Weird part is that this is not really going to be seen very often, at least in most circumstances. And it's got these pads right here that press against your existing mirror, and then these here use those rubber straps that I showed you. That's what holds it onto your mirror. And then of course, one of the cameras right here that has a bit of adjustment to it. So depending on how you position your rear view mirror, you can then position this camera to be as close to center as possible. This is a pretty decent product. Surprising quality. Of course, it can be used as a mirror when it's not on, but it does have, as you can see, a bit of a tint to it because I gotta think it doesn't have a sensor to do any sort of auto dimming like most OEM mirrors. So basically the short version is we're gonna hook these things into this using everything else that you saw, secure this to the mirror, and then we're gonna have some decent protection when it comes to recording incidences. Now, I'm not gonna show you all the details of the installation because every vehicle is different, but I am gonna get it installed and then I'm gonna show you what I've done to give you inspiration on how you're gonna do it. So let's get going. And here it is installed. And just like we talked about, we've got the cables here going into one harness here, and they're gonna be hidden right there. And they're gonna split out to the rest of the vehicle from there. For example, the GPS goes right there. We also ran the hardwire kit down the A-pillar and right into here, into the fuse block. And your car might be different than mine, so make sure that you hardwire accordingly. The front camera goes through here, down the A-pillar, down through the firewall, right down there, along here, to the grill, where it's mounted right here. The rear camera also goes down the A-pillar, but not through the firewall. It goes back to the back of the car, which follows the factory harness and gets mounted right there using the included bracket that I showed you earlier. And the one thing that we do with this is that we tap into the reverse light right there. And I'm going to show you why in a little bit. So overall installation was actually kind of easy. I mean, you could make it as professional or as amateur as you want to. You can see how simple it is if you just know your basic tools, basic wiring. Okay, we got it powered up here, and as you can see, the rear camera is showing my garage door behind me, but I want to use this time to show you what the features are here on the screen. Starting with right here, you can see the time recording, 4K, 1080p, and 2.5K. That's the camera attached to the mirror, the front bumper camera, the rear bumper camera. Then right here, you have a compass and your miles per hour. Over here, you got that microphone indicator. If you press that, it'll toggle the microphone on and off. What are you going to use the microphone for? Right here. Voice commands. You can do all of these things just by voice commands, and that microphone indicator is to turn it off so it doesn't listen to you at all. There's Wi-Fi right there to connect to your phone. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but when you press it, it'll turn the Wi-Fi on, then you connect your phone to it, and then you can download the video. Time, date, day, all that. So that's what it's like when you're just generally driving, and then if you tap it, you get this menu here. And a lot of these things you can also do by changing the settings there, but just run across, adjust the brightness, change the cameras. You can also do that by swiping. I'll show you that in a minute. Take a screenshot, lock the video, play back. So you can see all the videos that you've recorded from each camera, including the ones that are pictures, the ones that are locked. Turn the microphone on and off if you want it to record using those two microphones underneath there. And then of course the settings. And there's a lot of settings to this. I'm not going to go through all of it, but just take a quick glance here. It's pretty easy to maneuver through here. and change all of your settings that you want. And I'd like to mention that the screen is pretty responsive for what it's worth. Speaking of the screens, I know that the company called Screen Protect makes a protective screen for this. I'm probably going to pick one up. But otherwise, this has some pretty impressive hardware inside. It's got some of the latest and greatest technology when it comes to the sensors and cameras for a dash cam. But now here's the important part, is how does it work? Well, let's go find out. So here is our POV view. This is what it's going to be like if you decide to get one of these. Being that it's 12 inches wide, it's bigger than the mirror that comes with your car, at least in this case. And the nice part is you can swipe left and swipe right to get all three camera views, or just the rear, the front, or the mirror camera. And then the neat part about these is each one you can move up or down if you want to digitally. Very cool. And then when you're in the rear view mode, the camera is wide enough to where you can see somebody in your blind spot. Like this car right here that's coming up. Right now, that car is in my blind spot. I can see it in the little convex mirror over there, but I can also see it in the camera here without having to look at the mirror. Now, definitely, you want to play it safe. You don't want to replace common sense and awareness that you need with your mirrors with this. I don't think that will really hold up if you try to use that as an excuse, but it is good for peace of mind, especially in a car with less technology than what is modern. So now if you're using this and it's nighttime and you just want to turn it off, just hit the button on the bottom and it's off, and it acts as a regular mirror. And then if you need to get it back, just tap it. Piece of cake. You can also turn on a screensaver that does the same thing. It'll automatically turn off, and then you just tap it for it to be on for as long as you need it to. So let's say, for example, we're pulling into a parking spot and I need to see what's going on. I can just switch over to my front camera, scroll down a little bit, and inch up. And there I'm good. And then say, for example, I've got it on the main camera right here, and I put it in reverse. It taps into the reverse brake lights, and then I get this view automatically goes to the rear view, and then I can select how far I want the guidelines to be, or I can get a bigger, taller view here. So far, this is pretty impressive. With the Wi-Fi connection and your phone, you can connect to your mirror and then control the cameras, take a snapshot. You can view all of the files that are on the mirror. You can select them and download them. It takes a little bit of time through the Wi-Fi, but it's a heck of a lot faster than other methods. And then once downloaded, you can view them with some interesting information. You can see the map and all the different camera views. And that guy came pretty close. Let's take another look. Yeah, it looks like I'm not the first one that he came close to. We're going to take a look at that in a little bit. You can also change the settings just like you can on the mirror itself. And then you could download the files to your desktop, and then you could view all of them simultaneously in addition to the map and speed data, things like that. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of good data in here that you can use. You could download the GPS information or take more screenshots or whatever you want to do. And it's configurable. You don't have to view 3 cameras. You can switch it so you can view 1, 2, 3, or even 4 if you have that set up. And you could just keep dropping files in and viewing them simultaneously. So let's now take a look at the files themselves. See how close this person came. That's the front camera. Yep, really close. Let's back it up and let's see if we can see that license plate. We sure can. All right. And then the other camera view. Wow, that was indeed close. And the license plate shows up pretty clear there as well. Here's some more examples of the output. This is obviously the front-mounted bumper camera, and being 1080p, it doesn't do too bad at all. It all depends on how you have it mounted, and of course the conditions. It can get wet depending on where you put it. But then I caught this and I thought this was absolutely beautiful. At night, doesn't do too bad as well, good enough for a front-mounted bumper camera. Even when flashing lights are around, it doesn't drown out the detail. Now, the 4K camera built into the mirror is obviously much better, but it also does have some drawbacks because it is mounted behind glass, and in my case, dirty windshield, as well as a tinted windshield. So it does have some hindering factors, but overall, it still captures detail rather decently. Even when it's raining and the wipers are moving, it doesn't throw off the focus. And once again, I found something really incredible in my footage. At night, it does just fine as well. Again, I'm behind a tinted windshield. Now, speaking of which, you can see here we've got a bit of glare, and I don't know if that's because of my tinted windshield or the dirt that's on it. And the rear bumper, being 2.5K, it seems a little grainier than the other cameras, but I don't really expect too much for it being a rear bumper camera. But I did notice that as it gets wet, water likes to collect on it, so I'm going to use some Rain-X or some ceramic coating. I've used Armor Shield, I've used Cerakote, both, they all work great for this, but it definitely blocked the view when it got wet, so I'm going to have to fix that. Check out this view that I found on the SD card. Really something incredible the way the sky changes. At night, you're definitely going to want to turn the mirror off like I demonstrated earlier by hitting that orange button. When it's projected digitally, it's like a cell phone looking at your face in the dark, and you know what that's like. So you just turn it off and it becomes a regular mirror that is dimmed, so it works great. You don't have to adjust it at all. Now let's talk about the parking mode that you can enable when you have it hardwired. This is what the footage normally looks like from the front-mounted camera and the rear-mounted camera. But as I was going through the files, I found this. So after using the Wolfbox G900 for about a month, here's where I landed on it. First of all, you might want to know that there was a firmware update that was released as I was making this video that included some useful updates. Like being able to choose exactly which cameras you want to see in the split screen view that I showed you earlier. That tells me that Wolfbox is actively improving the platform. I did like how the whole system is completely configurable, but it's not confusing. You can tweak it a lot, but it never really feels overwhelming. Now, since this went into a small car, I did not need the extra long 33-foot extension cable for the rear camera. But if you got like a big truck or an SUV or just a huge car, you might need it. But I didn't. The length on the rear camera as it was just fine. And one thing that I didn't count on was the flexibility of this. I thought I wouldn't need the 12-volt adapter, right? But that's what actually makes this thing really cool. You can move it from vehicle to vehicle in seconds. You just unhook it from the back, strap it onto another car's mirror, plug in the 12-volt power, and you're good to go. The bumper cameras obviously got to stay behind, but that quick swappability for this camera is a huge bonus. I found that the mobile app is pretty easy to use. You might have noticed the desktop app is a little raw, but it works just fine for viewing multiple feeds at the same time. I still can't get over how solid the build quality is. It just doesn't feel like a cheap toy that's going to die after a week. But now here's my wish list. I'd love to see 4K cameras all the way around. The front 1080p and the rear 2.5K did pretty decent, but having the clarity that this one has all the way around would be a huge step up in my book. I'd also like to see backup sensors integrated into the rear camera that would make an audible beep here on the mirror if you got too close to something when you're backing up. I think that'd make the perfect modern upgrade for older cars with zero tech. And one last thing that you should know, when you have the screensaver enabled that I mentioned before, the screen doesn't actually power off entirely. The feed goes black, but like the compass, the speed, the time, all the things that I showed you earlier, they still remain lit unless you manually turn them off in the settings. And even then, when the screensaver does activate, it's like a faint black glow, like a powered on computer monitor showing a black screen. Now this is not a deal breaker, but something that I think you might want to know. Otherwise, in my experience, in my testing, in my real world usage, the G900 is a solid upgrade, whether you're driving a basic commuter car like what I've got, or you got an off-road rig, or anything that needs better visibility and constant recording. For the price, I'm honestly impressed, and I'm glad that I installed it. And by the way, that car that came close to mine in the example footage, I reviewed the rest of the footage as well. It looked like an old guy that just wasn't quite paying attention. No harm, no foul, and I didn't mean to call anybody out. I was just using that as a perfect example of showing that you could take a look at when a car does come too close, and unfortunately, it happens a lot where they come even closer than that. So as I mentioned, if this video helped you out and you want to pick one up, I'm going to include links and exclusive coupon codes in the description and the pinned comment. As always, thanks for hanging out in my garage with me, and I will see you in my next video. I have no idea what this is.